Hello WSP Corps members, and welcome to your required field gear decontamination training. I'm Dave Kataniak. I'm an environmental scientist with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. I'm currently a mentor at the Coastal Watershed Planning and Assessment Program here in Fortuna. I've been a mentor for a while now, and I also was formerly a WSP member. The Watershed Stewards Program is committed to training all Corps members in the approved California Department of Fish and Wildlife's decontamination protocols in order to prevent the spread of aquatic invasive species such as quagga mussels, zebra mussels, and New Zealand mud snails. Something that the department takes very seriously is trying to prevent the spread of these invasive species, which are already here in California, but we want to limit their areas in which they're going to be spread. This required training will educate you on the approved step-by-step decontamination methods, which will require compliance with the protocols needed for your fieldwork. As you watch this training, please keep in mind that placement sites may use different but similar decontamination protocols. All methods are designed to prevent the spread of these invasive species. Please ask your mentor to train you in detail on the decontamination method used at your specific placement site. The essence of preventing the spread of invasive species is to disinfect all field gear between watersheds and any new locations within a single watershed. Remember to review your job hazard analysis, or JHA, for your specific methods to ensure you are working safely every day. Ask your mentor for help if you have any questions. The field gear that we will be decontaminating will be waders, which I'm sure you'll frequently use, and your boots will be the most common things that you'll be decontaminating. But for those of you who also do snorkeling dive surveys, dive gear is also decontaminated. Dry suits and any sampling equipment is also generally decontaminated, or any other equipment that may touch the water. If you're moving between work sites throughout the day, a second set of field gear can be used and is encouraged. Your placement site has let WSP staff know how many waders are needed for each Corps member, and based on the number of watersheds and or work sites that you'll be in. When leaving each watershed or work site, field gear should be properly sealed in a bag or container prior to transport. Generally we use big plastic bags so they can be thrown out. And don't forget to fully decontaminate or dry the bag before you reuse or dispose of it. Keep it separate from uncontaminated field gear. Transport to a facility for decontamination. When working in flowing water, Corps members should begin their work upstream and continue downstream. This is if the protocol allows. This would help avoid transporting aquatic invasive species to non-infested stream areas, which are all the methods that are approved that we use. The first one, option one, is brushing gear. You take you scrub the gear basically before you leave the field, and you use like a stiff bristle brush to remove all dirt and organisms. Like these mussels are tiny, this less than the size of a fingernail, and so you have to get around all the eyelets along the sides of your boots and then underneath. And it's the same with the waders. Generally, like anywhere there's crevices, you're going to want to brush. So you brush it really well. And the next step is, after you get back to the office, we place gear in a freezer, a big large chest freezer that's 32 degrees or colder for a minimum of 8 hours, but we generally like to go 24 hours with that. Then you have to thaw the gear and immerse in a 5 to 10% saltwater immersion solution for 10 minutes. So generally we use these large 32-gallon containers in which we place the whole waders in, as well as the boots. And so those go in there for 10 minutes, and then you have to basically allow them to dry and then air dry. And we generally just, if possible, hang them outside, but if it's raining, then we'll hang them inside somewhere. As I mentioned, you allow the equipment to thoroughly dry until there is a complete absence of moisture, preferably in the sun. And then you keep dry for a minimum of 48 hours to ensure any organisms are desiccated. The fourth option is a hot water soak. So you want to immerse equipment in 140 degrees Fahrenheit, or the hottest water possible. and if necessary, weigh it down to ensure that it remains completely immersed. You soak in 140 degrees or hotter for a minimum of 5 minutes. Keep in mind, if the water is too hot, you could degrade the equipment that you are cleaning. I know there's not too many sites that probably do this. I've never used this hot water method just for fear of potentially harming the gear, but if it's a method that you have, that's completely fine. As I mentioned, the freeze option is placing it in a freezer for 32 degrees or colder for a minimum of 8 hours. And like I said, it's preferably that you do 24. Freezing alone may not kill some organisms like chytrid fungus and sudden oak death syndrome, and should not be used for those species if they're present in that watershed you're working. Then there's the chemical procedure. While not recommended for most sites due to the use of the chemicals, the following protocol can be used if the other options I mentioned are not available. So, just like before, you brush off any debris before leaving the field and put it in a suitable large trash bag and seal for containment. Prepare the disinfectant solution by diluting concentrate containing quat, which is quaternary ammonium, in a well-ventilated space using gloves and eye protection. Exposure to this concentrated solution may be toxic and corrosive. If sites have this, they should have a MSDS sheet for Pacific quat sources. Pour the decontaminated solution into a suitable holding container and submerge gear for at least 10 minutes. Gear may need to be weighted down or rotated for complete and sustained immersion. After chemical treatment, gear must be rinsed thoroughly with tap water away from all bodies of water in soak solution. The rinsed water must be properly disposed of, so make sure you're not putting it in near any drain. And then, just as before, the gear should be properly dried. Please remember to check in with your mentors at your placement site to see which decontamination protocols you should be using while returning from the field. While not common, sudden oak death is found in coastal California throughout areas WSP Corps members serve. The best management practices are to reduce the spread of sudden oak death syndrome and by following these practices. Before working, prepare a sanitation kit including 10% chlorine bleach solution / Clorox and clean up 90% water solution, and scrub, brush, a metal scraper, a brute brush, and plastic gloves. While working, if possible, work during the dry season to avoid wet conditions or mud. Start in disease-free areas by moving to infected areas. Do not transport soil or plant materials between areas without written permission from the local agricultural commissioner. After working, sanitize all personal gear using the bleach solution, tools, and equipment at the site wherever possible by scraping off all mud and soil and washing off equipment. Place clean gear on a surface that will prevent recontamination. If complete on-site sanitation is not possible, complete the work in an isolated area or power wash facility. Rinse your gear after sanitation and allow it to dry thoroughly. Rinse water and chemical cleaning solutions should be properly disposed of. Includes our training video of WSP Corps members, information regarding the various approved methods for decontamination of field gear and preventing the spread of invasive species. More information about and a written outline of these protocols is available on WSP's website. Thank you for doing your part in preventing the spread of invasive species whenever you work and throughout your career. Taking care of our watersheds is a shared responsibility. Thank you, WSP.